Okay, so Jude asked a question which is valid, and so I'm going to answer it. He's asking what I feel my mindset is compared to where I was in Florida, which is just a few years ago. Because as crazy as you guys see me, I was maximum crazy before I moved to California. And y'all aren't seeing that because y'all are only seeing me after 4 years of therapy and medication and working on myself. And I really have been working on myself. Before California, so back in 2015, I was completely broken, completely fucked. I cried all the time unless I was on drugs or drunk, which I was trying. Okay, by 2016, I was mostly sober. I just smoked weed. A couple of years before that, I tried drowning myself with alcohol, with pain medications. I couldn't. But even before that, even before like the murder happened, I had problems when I was a kid that were ignored. When I was in, I think, second or third grade, they sent a letter home to my parents that wanted me to see a therapist. They said they would bring the therapist to school. My parents didn't have to do shit but sign this paper saying, yes, please help our insane child. They wouldn't sign it. They threw it in the garbage, screaming, our kid's not crazy, what a crock of shit, blah, blah, blah. They never would accept that there was a damn thing wrong with me. My entire childhood, they would just scream, she's not crazy, she's just smart. You can't be crazy if you're smart, because if your brain didn't work, you couldn't be smart. Literally their logic, okay? And they did see me as smart for some reason, because I remember specifically once my niece called the police on them. She was a baby. She was maybe 2 or 3. And the police showed up and my dad sorted it out. He came in my room screaming that I had to have been the one that called the police because they came with a report of domestic disturbance. And I was the only one in the house at 16 that would know what that phrase was. And so I was the one that got punished, and I couldn't make him understand that if a 3-year-old calls the police and they hear the fighting in the background, they're not going to show up and say, we had a report that mommy and daddy were mad. They're going to show up and say domestic disturbance. They're going to, like, sorry, I'm getting off track. I had severe problems as a child. I was severely depressed. I wanted to kill myself before I was 10 years old. And my sister was more than willing to help. She tried to kill me herself before I was 10 years old. She tried to boil me alive in the bathtub at one point when I was like 2. Like, the school noticed that I needed help, and they tried to give it to me, and my parents refused. I didn't actually start receiving help until after the murder in 2009, and then it was the police telling me that I needed to talk to these people. I wouldn't have gone and done it on my own because I had spent my whole life having my family tell me that there's nothing wrong with me. I don't need therapy. I don't need doctors. I don't need drugs. I just need to suck it up and move on. Get a job. Stop trying to be better than everybody else. Stop trying to be smarter than everybody else. And just dragging if I ever did anything positive, they would say, what, do you think you're better than us? What, you think you're smarter than us? You're not better than us just because you can read better, just because you do better in school, or, this and that. So I was completely out of control by say 19. I married a man who beat the crap out of me and didn't actually love me, specifically because I felt like I needed to be loved. He was in a relationship when we got married. He was 23, dating a 16-year-old girl, and the night we got married, he asked to go see her. And for the first couple of months, I want to say the first year after we were married, I would drive my husband and leave him to spend time with his 16-year-old ex-girlfriend. I was that desperate to be loved, y'all. I did not give a shit. I did. It hurt me, right? But I was desperate to be loved. And sometimes I would just go completely insane. I would have blackouts back then. And I would go days or weeks on autopilot. I had no memory of what happened. And my husband would just be like, well, you're back. And apparently I had spent the last couple of days being weird. I had no idea what was happening. My brain was just like shutting down for random moments when things got too hard. I don't do that anymore, unless it gets really hard. I used to have manic episodes where I would run away, just randomly, just like everything seemed fine, but I had been up for 2 days, and I would pack my bags, and I would just, me and my teddy bear were off on the road, taking rides from from random people on the street, and with no destination in mind. I wound up in Daytona once and had no idea where I was going, what I was doing. I got back on the back of a motorcycle from a guy at a gas station that picked me up. Things like that. I used to be crazy. Y'all are not even going to get the full concept of how crazy I was. For a year, I had a gun. After the murder, after the trial, I'm going to say the year was 2013. I bought myself a gun, and I would spend hours sitting alone in my closet holding that gun, loaded with a bullet in it, ready. Just all I had to do was pull the trigger. I would put it to my head, and I couldn't make myself do it. But night after night, I would sit there with that gun, and I would pray for the strength to just let it end. I don't have a gun anymore. When I would have suicidal impulses back then, I would act on them immediately. Now, I still have suicidal impulses and ideations, but I'm much more likely to hurt myself in a way that will slowly kill me than I am to actively hurt myself in a way that would kill me now. I'm much more likely to eat foods that I know will make me sick so that my body will shut down, knowing that eventually I'll feel better and I'll start taking care of myself again, and it'll probably happen before my body shuts down, but I can still actively hurt myself, which I still needed, which I'm aware is sick. Like, I'm not, when I tell y'all I have mental health problems, it's not just an exaggeration. When the school is telling you that your 7-year-old needs a therapist, you should probably let your 7-year-old see a therapist. But instead, they're going to keep insisting that there was never anything wrong with me, and so I would never get any therapy, and all of my problems, they would just keep piling up until it's compounded and not so simple to solve. Sorry, I keep getting off track. The point is that anybody that knew me back in 2013 or before, they would be able to notice that I've changed, that I've gotten better over the last couple of years, being here in California, having a doctor, being on medication. But it's not an overnight process. And when I've got my family, right, the people that were abusing me, popping up every few months to remind me that they're still watching and they're still trying to drag me down, it doesn't help. Because I make progress and then they pop up and that progress gets thrown out the window because they have a lot of emotional control over me because they earned it when I was a child. Y'all won't understand that. Y'all are just gonna make fun of that. But that's how it is. I don't run away and wind up in different states anymore. I don't jump into beds with men that I know are going to beat me or I know have multiple other girlfriends or boyfriends simply because I feel like I need to be loved. I'm fine being single now because I know that I'm not able to have a healthy relationship with men yet. Because I need to work on myself first. I need to have enough self-confidence and self-worth that if a man raised his hand to me, I would leave. I don't have that yet. So I'm not, because I still feel like I would deserve to be hit. I don't even know what I did wrong yet, but I deserve to be hit. I most definitely do. I'm sure a lot of you would agree with that. Anyways, I'm going to bed.